Okay, I see people are still logging in now, but we are going to get started now. So I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Rachel Rennick, and I am part of the Community Outreach and Education Program at Perlmutter Cancer Center. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. I would like to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar on mindful eating. There are no bad foods with registered dietitian Alanna Waldron. Before we get started, please take note of the Q&A box on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. At the end of the webinar, you can submit questions there for Alanna, and we will take as many questions as we have time for. And with that said, I would like to turn the program over to Alanna.
Thank you, Rachel, for the introduction. As Rachel mentioned, my name is Alanna Waldron, a registered dietitian with Perlmutter Cancer Center, primarily in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. So thank you to everyone who is joining in today. I truly appreciate you and your time. So I'm hoping, a lot of you are tuning in today because you are curious, about how mindful eating fits into, the cancer world especially. And you may be even slightly confused and saying, oh, why is a dietitian, telling me there are no bad foods? Why is she telling me to eat, everything? But I'll get to that in a minute if you just hang tight. So mindful eating, especially within the topic, there really are no quote unquote bad foods, can help you optimize nutritional intake for cancer prevention during your cancer treatment and moving forward into cancer survivorship after treatment is finished. So a quick brief intro into what mindful eating actually is, because I know there's a lot of buzz, trendy terms around there in the nutrition world. So I just wanted to clarify. Mindful eating is more of, tuning in to what, is in front of you, what you are eating. And it may, bring about an emotional response, and that's completely normal because you are going to be asking yourself questions like, okay, why am I eating these foods? Why am I making these, food choices? When am I eating such foods? And, you'll start to ask yourself a series of, whys. So because you're paying more attention, to what you're eating, you're really like getting up close and personal to those food choices. And I like this, the saying how it's a balance and harmony with foods, because you really ultimately want to be at peace with your food and to ultimately, build that healthy relationship with food, because as you'll notice, maybe some of you are already practicing mindful eating, maybe some of you are curious, and you'll notice that, mindful eating actually goes hand in hand with a lot of other aspects, of your life in terms of mindfulness, right? We're showing up and being more mindful in a lot of other areas in our life besides just the food. So I'm quoting a quote by the book, Discover Mindful Eating. When we have a harmonious relationship with food, we can coexist with any type of food without it causing anxiety or hatred. And I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it, to not really, to judge your food choices, to not say that, I am being so bad because I am making, these food choices. So it's really a harmonious relationship with food. So mindful eating can help you discover, right? Discover a lot of things about yourself, discover a lot of things about, the food choices you are making. It can actually help you pay attention more, as I had mentioned before, to really what is in front of you. You may notice, I'm actually, mindlessly eating, in front of the TV every night, or, I'm mindlessly eating, straight out of the bag. Let's say if I'm eating like crackers or potato chips, I'm just not really paying attention to what I'm eating and how much I'm eating. So it'll kind of bring about this awareness. And one of the goals of mindful eating is to just have less distraction around you when you're eating and making these food choices. The goal is not to have a perfect distractionless environment, because I feel like a lot of times that's nearly impossible. There's always something that's going to be going on, or maybe something that's out of your control. But to just, choose less distractions when you can and if you are able to, especially when it comes down to sit down for meals. A lot of us, especially in healthcare, maybe we're standing up while we're eating. Maybe we only have a quick few minutes to get in our food, and that's understandable. So like I said, there's always going to be some sort of, distraction that may get in our way, but it comes down to, being mindful and making that intentional decision to, eat slowly when you can, eat in a quiet environment when you can. So it's all about, dealing with what you have around you. And mindful eating is ultimately honoring yourself. So if you're allowing yourself, to eat all foods and knowing that there's a place for all foods to fit in your lifestyle, and I like to say lifestyle, versus diet, you're ultimately honoring yourself and your body, because you're telling yourself, hey, I'm worthy of, eating this food, whether it's like a cookie or whether it's, a piece of vegetable, I am deserving of this. And, there is a time and place for everything to fit. And it's basically okay is the bottom line when it comes to mindful eating. It's all okay. And mindful eating can help you to, stop judging. And in the book, Discover Mindful Eating, that I quoted above, they technically say, you cannot judge something that's not living. So why are you judging your food, right? But what I'm, interpreting it as is maybe we're not so much judging the food, we're judging ourselves and possibly others, for making those food choices. And what I mean by that is if, you label certain foods as bad or off limits, then you're ultimately, going to feel bad about eating them. So you're going to start to ask yourself why. Okay, why do I feel so bad? Why do I feel so guilty about eating this? Who told me that these foods were bad? Society, I'm sure, diet culture. Yes, some foods have more nutrients than others. But it really comes down to, less judgment, more at peace with your food choices, and it can overall help you develop a healthier relationship with food and other areas in life in general. That's a very brief background about mindful eating. And so now this slide, you may be thinking, well, that's pretty obvious. Why is broccoli good? Well, let's see. Broccoli, is a vegetable. It has, fiber. It has some antioxidants. It can help me keep my bowels regular. It's just overall, lower calorie versus, the chocolate chip cookie, which it sure is delicious, but it may be lacking some nutrients, right, than your typical vegetable, and in this case, the broccoli. But again, we don't necessarily want to label the cookie as bad. And I say that because when we tend to put certain foods off limits, when we tend to restrict and tell ourselves we can't have these certain foods, what will actually happen is that your body may crave them even more. And I don't know if this has happened to some of you. Maybe you're going through this right now and you've noticed that, oh, I can't have a chocolate chip cookie whenever I want it because then I'll just go crazy. I'll eat too much of it. It's just, I'll feel out of control around it, or maybe, it'll make me gain weight. Like, of course I'm not going to eat the cookie. But you will learn over time that by practicing these mindful eating habits, that one cookie will not make you gain weight. is accumulation of a bunch of different things, right? So it's not just that one specific item at one time. Sure, we want to tell you to eat your vegetables and get, those essential nutrients, and, those are really important, especially for cancer, prevention, and when you're going through cancer treatment, because your body is going through so much, the more nutrients, the better, if possible. But there is a time and place for you to enjoy, maybe a little bit of, higher sugary, higher calorie foods, because you also want to enjoy your food, right? And, with cancer on top of that, there's already so much that you may feel deprived of. So why not bring a little bit of joy into your life by allowing yourself to have that cookie when you want it? And this goes for any of your favorite foods or foods that you feel like they're off limits to you because they are too quote unquote bad. I want you to think about, maybe allowing yourself to have it when you get those cravings, because what happens over time is that you will actually get a less intense craving for those foods that are typically off limits because you put them off limits, and that your body will actually say, oh, thank you for giving me, what I had wanted. When I got these cravings, I am now satisfied. So I actually don't need it as often. I don't need to eat, 3, 4, 5 cookies. I can just be satisfied off of one little cookie because I know these aren't off limits. I know I can have them whenever I want. And so it's that kind of, mentality shift that if I know that if I want a cookie and I can have it, that's where the harmony comes in, right? That's where that balance comes in, and your body will kind of thank you. It will say, okay, thank you. He or she will give me what I want when I want it. All is good. And then this also, I think, helps you to get in those essential nutrients, say from the broccoli or from other vegetables, that are still really important, because it's all about that balance, right? So your body is going to crave, that balance over time, just naturally. Your body knows, when you need more vegetables, when you need, more nutrients. It just knows over time. And this does take trust. So it is something that takes time, it takes patience, and it takes practice. So I don't expect, anyone on here today who's maybe, toyed with the thought of, mindful eating and allowing, all foods to fit, to just magically change your mindset overnight and then, feel like you're in this harmonious, balance with your food by tomorrow. It takes a lot of practice and time, but I promise you, you will get there and you will be able to enjoy all these foods. And also, like I had sort of mentioned before, food is neither good nor bad. So I want you to maybe start to think about not labeling them as good or bad. Like even the stuff that we say, is generally healthy for us, like your vegetables, your fruits, your whole grains. Yes, those are, essential. But when we have these good or bad labels, it's usually causing, some inner tension, some inner stress, and it's preventing you from showing up, fully at your meals. Maybe, you're having trouble, with portion control because certain foods are off limits. But then maybe you're having trouble, with, not eating enough of the foods that are more nutritious. So it kind of, again, goes back to that balance. We want to have this neutral mentality, as I have put it here, because that neutral mentality can help you enjoy all foods. And again, like I said, food is so much more than, just straight up calories. Food is joy, food is comfort, right? I think we can all agree with that. Food is memories, and food is also culture. So if and when you are able to, I want you to really, enjoy those food choices when you have them. And a neutral mentality can also help you to eat all foods in moderation. So like I said before, your body will just know over time when it's had enough of when it's satisfied. So this can actually help, decrease those intense cravings, right, for those quote unquote bad foods. Because once you allow yourself to have them, your body will be satisfied on less, right, a less amount, and it'll know that it can have them whenever it wants to, because you'll feed it whenever it wants to. So again, the balance, this helps, to eat more in moderation, which is a great tool. And it can actually help you to appreciate and respect the food more. So again, like I had mentioned, less judging of the food, right? Because really we're judging other things, and not just the food itself. So really appreciate, what you have in front of you, what is available to you, what you are capable of eating, and really take it as, an experience. It can also help you to reduce stress and anxiety, and some of you may have, experienced a lot of stress regarding, your food choices, and with all due respect, to food insecurity at this time, or, availability, and, please feel free to reach out, to any of the dietitians or any of the staff at Perlmutter Cancer Center if, you are, needing more resources for food and food deliveries. So we are here for that. But, if you have a choice to eat the foods that you want, it should not be a stressful experience. Because remember, food should bring joy, not stress. Especially with cancer, your body is already going through so much added stress, internal stress. The last thing you want to do is add more to it. So, try to relax, try to, allow yourself to enjoy all of the foods and, bring less stress into the situation. And a neutral mentality can help you to just make easier food choices in general. When you allow yourself, to eat all foods, you're not going to stress out about, oh, I can't have this certain food because, maybe it has too many calories, or, too much fat, or it's too bad for me. So, I have to choose something else, and the choices, I feel like, are more limited in that sense. But when you open yourself up to more foods and, that allowance, you'll hear me say the word like allowing and allowance a lot, because the more you allow yourself to have, the just easier it will be, to come down, whether you're cooking it yourself at home or, you're ordering takeout. You'll just have more food choices in general. And a neutral mentality can help you to try new foods, have fun with your food, get creative. I think you will naturally be more open to trying different foods, especially, during cancer treatment. We will, often say if you're having trouble, eating certain foods, it's not going down well, you need more options, try new foods. You never know, what you're going to like and what you're not going to like, especially going through treatment. Your taste buds may change, so you just never know. So, have that neutral mentality, be open to it. And this next slide, I thought it was helpful to show the My Plate, and some of you are probably like, oh no, my plate, as dietitians love to use this visual, but we use it for a good reason, because it can show you how, to use portion control, allowing, all foods to fit in that mold, right? In that one plate. So my plate actually fits into mindful eating because it helps you, with portion control. It helps you, eat foods in moderation. So take, for example, spaghetti and meatballs. If you tell yourself, pasta is bad for me, I can't have, the spaghetti even though I want it, well, no, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to, as a dietitian, to tell you to have your spaghetti, but maybe, fill the noodles up only about a quarter of your plate, versus the whole plate, right? Which a lot of us are used to, of course, like larger serving sizes, but that doesn't mean, just scaling it down a bit. That doesn't mean you can enjoy it ever again, right? I very much want you to enjoy your noodles, enjoy your pastas, enjoy your favorite foods, just scale it down a little bit. Because again, and I may keep repeating myself here, but I think it'll be helpful, as a reminder that, just because the portion sizes are smaller does not mean, you're deprived of anything. If anything, it's actually helping you over time because your body is getting what it wants, basically. So, have your spaghetti, but maybe fill it up, a quarter of your plate, and then your meatballs can be another quarter of your plate, right? And we tell you to eat, more lean proteins, the better. So like your chickens, your turkeys, your fish, your eggs. And this isn't, meant to say that, I'm telling you to eat, all the saturated fat. I'm telling you to eat all the cookies and French fries in the world. No, definitely not. We give you these nutrition guidelines for a reason, but when you have that neutral mentality, it just creates a more pleasant experience because you're not deprived of anything. Basically, there's still room, for everything to fit on this plate, all the foods that you love, if, again, you are able to. And so I like, the add-in method. I'll tell a lot of my patients, okay, you want that pizza? You can absolutely have your pizza still. It doesn't mean you have to stop eating pizza. But, if you have the taste for it, if you have the appetite, maybe consider adding in a vegetable or two, as a topping on your pizza. So, you can still have, your favorite comfort food, but there's always a way, to increase those nutrients. You just kind of have to get a little creative with it. So your body is still going to recognize, okay, she's still feeding me pizza. I'm still getting what I want. I am satisfied. So over time, you just become more satisfied with your food choices, and your body will thank you for that. And adding in, again, instead of removing all of your favorite foods and telling yourself that you can't have certain things, add in the vegetables, add in more fruit, add in more whole grains, etc. There's still a time and place for, regular white pastas, but, because you'll be practicing more mindful eating habits and you're trying to think of a way to get in more whole grains, and if it's something that's new to you, maybe, I'll shoot for, a whole grain pasta or like a lentil pasta, So again, have fun with it, get a little creative. And we had talked about the portion control. So mindful eating is really, really great for that because, as you know, especially into cancer survivorship mode, maintaining that healthy, optimal weight is important. So mindful eating can really help, set that standard for, portion control. And I put in give in to cravings because I think it's really important. Again, you'll actually have less cravings, less intense cravings over time when you actually allow yourself to have what you truly want in that moment, if it's possible in that moment. Over time, you're just going to be more satisfied. And I put turkey Florentine meatballs here because this is one of my new favorite recipes, or there's hundreds of these meatball recipes, you know, on the internet if you just Google it. But I think it's a really great idea to get in maybe some vegetable, because the Florentine part, you know, means that there's added spinach or like a dark leafy green in there. So these are lean turkey meatballs that have, you know, added frozen spinach with it. I'm a huge advocate for frozen vegetables. They're just as good as fresh. You know, get creative with it. You can add spinach, or you can add kale, or you can add, you know, carrots, you know, whatever you want. And they're customizable, right? So if you don't like a certain ingredient, take it out, add in something else. But it's a good way, you know, to get in still that lean protein, but also maybe get in a little bit of vegetable. And because, you know, mindful eating, you know, raises awareness of what you're eating. Maybe you're like, oh, I haven't had a vegetable in a while, or maybe I think I need to be eating more. You know, this is a good recipe and a way for you to get in those nutrients that maybe you're not getting as much of. So that concludes the presentation. And if you leave here with anything today, I just want you to, you know, allow yourself and the space to have your favorite foods, but also, you know there's a time and place, you know, for everything, even the more nutrient-rich foods too. So thank you all again for being here. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Alanna. That was a great presentation. That was very informative, and it's good to know that we can still enjoy our pasta and pizza. I'm sure everyone here is very relieved to hear that. And as Alanna mentioned, we're going to open up for questions. So if anyone has any questions for Alanna, you can type it in the Q&A box on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So we'll give everybody a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I just want to say this is the first installment of a new spring series that a few of us dietitians at Perlmutter Cancer are doing. So there will be 2 more upcoming sessions on mindful eating topics, different topics, over the next couple of months.
I'll give it another minute or 2 if you guys have any questions. Okay, we just got a comment here. Someone mentioned that they are, let's see, they're having difficulty digesting meat and bread and want to know if you have any suggestions.
Okay. Now it's difficult for me, you know, without knowing, you know, what, you know, if they're going through treatment right now, or what cancer. But if they're noticing, you know, trouble with digestion with specific, you know, meats, I would avoid anything that's really tough and chewy, you know, making sure it's still cooked thoroughly, but also, you know, it's tender enough, or maybe it has, you know, additional like liquid, whether or broth, to kind of help it go down a little better.
Okay, we have another question here. Is sugar bad for cancer?
So that is definitely a common question. And now there is no, you know, scientific evidence, especially as us dietitians, to physically hand you like a paper saying, okay, sugar is bad for cancer. But again, you know, the less added sugars, the better. So add in, you know, more anti-inflammatory foods. You know, you can get it through those vegetables and those fruits that we had talked about. So the less, the better, but we can't, you know, exactly say that it is.
Okay, someone just asked if this is being recorded, and yes, this is being recorded,
Yes.
and it will be posted on the Perlmutter Cancer Center Facebook page and also our YouTube channel. So if anyone goes to YouTube, they can search for NYU Langone Health, and if you scroll down, you're going to see a Perlmutter Cancer Center section. So this is recorded, it's going to be edited, and it will be up on both channels. So stay tuned for that. We have a comment. Thank you for good information. Let's see. Is there anything else? Any final questions? Oh, Alanna, we have another question here. What is the name and the author of the mindful eating book that you mentioned?
So the book is called Discover Mindful Eating. Oh, and here are the, sorry, I forgot about this, the reference page. And the authors are at the beginning there.
Perfect. Okay, we have another question here. How to avoid acid reflux from food?
So avoid anything that's highly acidic. A lot of times that's your, citrus foods, that's your like tomatoes, even condiments like garlic. I would stay away from that. I would stay away from, caffeine, anything that's spicy or carbonated. And
okay, another question. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alanna.
Sorry, no, I was going to say eat slowly and smaller meals are better.
Okay, another question. Is sour soup and sea moss good for cancer patients?
Sorry, what was that? Sour soup?
Sour soup and sea moss.
Oh, sorry, I'm not familiar with those, so I can't really tell you. But I'll definitely look into it.
Okay. Another question. What foods are better at preventing cancer?
So you basically, want to eat an overall, balanced diet, right? So lean proteins, the less saturated fat, the better. Whole grains are really important. Vegetables, fruits. So trying to get in, a balance as much as possible.
Okay, and that looks like, oh, wait, we have one more coming through. Why is it hard to digest water while on chemo?
It depends on the person and what you are going through. But, there are different reasons for that. I would just encourage you to drink very slowly and do small sips of water.
Okay, we have another one here. Someone is having hormone therapy for breast cancer. What do you think about taking soybeans production like tofu?
So I think soybeans in its whole form, whether it be like the bean itself, edamame or tofu, is a really great option, and it is safe to eat with breast cancer in moderation. Yeah.
Okay, great. And it looks like that's all the questions that we have for today. So thank you, Alanna, so much for a great presentation, and thank you to everyone for tuning in, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.